Hello and welcome to Reality Remix, the podcast, episode 8. I'm your host, Dale Jensen, and a news item that you might have missed recently is Democrats continue to deny what happened in the November election. The latest? They claim they lost because they weren't progressive enough. Will this madness never end? People don't vote for Republicans because they're disappointed that the radical agenda of the left wasn't being implemented. And we move into Reality Remix. If you like what you hear, please consider subscribing with the notification bell on. That way, you'll know when we've posted new content. It doesn't cost anything, and it really will help out the channel, so thank you in advance. With me in the studio today are Dennis.
Hi there, Dale. How can a progressive not be too progressive or not enough progressive? They're far left. What's further left than far left?
Exactly. Jim is with us.
I'm in.
And Solomon is with us.
Hi, how's everybody doing tonight?
Doing great.
Doing good.
Episode 8, Weak and Frail Figureheads. We've been treated to and embarrassed by videos of our president, Joe Biden, falling asleep during the G20 climate conference last week. Now, personally, listening to people like Greta Thunberg drone on about how disappointed she is in us because we're not destroying our economy because of her concerns, I'd probably be catching a catnap here and there, but the world's not listening to that narrative. What's going on, Dennis?
Well, let's go, Brandon. Let's go. Let's go, Brandon. Let's go. Yeah, we're seeing all sorts of massive failures in the Biden administration. The first thing that really comes to mind is vaccine mandates that he executive ordered in, okay? Luckily, I read a news topic somewhere that said they were postponed by a federal court. They pushed the can down the road, so where people had to be vaccinated by December 31st, January 4th. Okay, you can't mandate vaccines. If people don't want the vaccine, you can't fire people from the nursing industry. You can't fire people from the airline industries. These are infrastructure industries that we have to have in a society in order to form, okay? So you fire your airline personnel and what do? You hire in substandard mechanics or scabs or whatever, and then you have planes crashing. Same with the nursing industry. Then you have unqualified people doing nursing care. So that's just like a snowball that rolls downhill there. Okay. And then we have border policies on the topic of the vaccine mandate that will allow as many immigrants come into the country as we want. And let me double check there. No, they don't have to be vaccinated. So it's a double standard mandating for people that have jobs and then just letting immigrants run across the border. And we don't really care, but you're an immigrant. You'll vote Democrat down the road. So yay. Okay, and then I saw that they were only able to pass a 1.2 trillion. I mean, that's a huge number as it is, but infrastructure bill as opposed to the 3.2 trillion that they originally wanted. They're going in. There's a lot of infighting in amongst the Democrats. You have the moderate Democrats, which are close to the center, saying, you guys are spending too much money on all this green crap here. And they're like, well, we gotta have it. We gotta have it. World's gonna die because we're not green. And yeah, so, okay. It's sad to see 1.2 trillion, okay, of the money going to Democratic policies. And there's a lot of pork and they're just gonna throw money out and pocket some of it. And yeah, that's just horrible there, in my opinion. Virginia turned red. Okay, where does that fit into the Biden administration? Biden was stumping for McAuliffe, wasn't he? And look how that turned out. And we're dealing with runaway inflation right now. The prices of gas is going up. That's a good indicator right there. The price of goods going up. The price of everything has gone up. If you go to the grocery store and you shop, you go to the retail stores, the big name stores, the prices are going up slowly. Inflation, the more it gets, the harder a strain it is on the economy. Wages don't increase, but the price of everything goes up. Where does that take us economically? we're going to have to wait and see. Okay. Yeah, and best of all, during the climate summit, I watched the video, and yeah, he definitely took a little catnap in there. Okay, and they had to send one of his aides over. Hey, psst, Joe, wake up! You're missing the summit. They got you on camera. And it's like, I just roll my eyeballs because this is supposedly our president that cheated his way into office. That's to be speculated there. I have my own opinion on that. Okay, so what I have to ask is, where are you, Joe, and what are you doing? It's getting closer and closer to the 2022 midterms, and you're running out of time.
I was reading some. Yeah, we talked previously about the tendency to put yourself into an echo chamber, and I make a very intentional point of not doing that by going and reading news sources that are not generally in alignment with my point of view. And if you go to CNN or if you go to MSNBC and you read what they're posting, most of them are saying Joe Biden is doing a fantastic job. They
Uh-huh.
love what he's doing. I was reading on Twitter. There was some person who had posted something about Biden, and the sycophantic responses of, "Oh, this is the best president of my life. I can't believe the wonderful things that he's doing." And I just look at that and I'm like, "What are you talking about? I mean, do you have any sense at all about what's really happening?" And here's an exercise: name one positive thing that he's done. He hasn't done anything. He's a failure on the foreign front. He's a failure on the domestic front. Failure with COVID. He was handed the vaccines, the doorway out, and he's failed to bring COVID around like he said he was going to. He's failed on the economy. He's failed on jobs. He's failed at the southern border. You look at the disaster in Afghanistan, where it was just a stupid decision on his part. I mean, he initially claimed that the generals said to get out of the country in that manner. And the generals all on Capitol Hill under oath said, nope, we told him not to do it, and he did it anyway.
Yeah, I
So
forgot
that's
about
a
that one. That was the biggest thing that was in the news. The veterans themselves. I have a cousin that was a veteran suffering from PTSD, and his son, who was in the Afghan war, Afghan occupation, whatever you want to call it, had 4 friends commit suicide within the same week after the Afghan pullout was announced. And I'm like, wow.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, and it's completely on him and whoever is actually running the show, because we know that Joe Biden is not capable of being president of the United States. So somebody's behind the curtain, as it were. He goes out to do press events. He reads off a script, doesn't answer questions, just leaves. And when he does answer questions, he makes bizarre statements like, "Oh, I'm going to get in trouble for answering questions." Get in trouble from who?
Yeah, you're the
I,
president.
you're the president of the United States. Who's going to give you a hard time because you answered a couple of reporters' questions? And the reason he gets a hard time is because it's usually a disaster. He gets up there and he mumbles and he stumbles and he fumbles, and he just he's wearing away as presidents are. It's a stressful job, even when you call a lid on your day at 10 o'clock in the morning and don't have any more events. Um, so yeah, the people who look at this presidency um, with impartiality, I think, see it as the disaster that it is, and that's going to wind up being most people. And in the 2022 elections, I think that the House is going to swing Republican, maybe by 30 or 40 seats.
I heard it was going to be close to 60 seats.
It could be. I mean, it just depends on how angry people are between now and then. There's 30, 40% of the country that, loves Joe Biden, thinks Joe Biden is great, and they'll vote for him and they'll vote for Democrats. But if the rest of the country is kind of united against rejecting Bidenism and rejecting the squad and progressivism, they're going to be tossed out on their backsides.
You're looking at about 6 years for that to happen.
Why 6?
You don't.
Unless a military co-op comes about and forces them out by virtue of treasonous acts. We had a little problem with the Supreme Court because Kavanaugh voted to go for the mandate concerning our military. And now that's going to be, I guess, looked at again, because the actual Webster's dictionary definition of mandate means only if those who accept that mandate, then it becomes a mandatory action. When our Supreme Court, if it accepts the mandate as an action and they put it through, it can become a law.
You're referring to the vaccines?
Right. I'm talking about vaccine, and that is one thing that may trigger our next civil war.
Okay, well, back up there for a second. You said Kavanaugh ruled how on the vaccine mandate? Because it was blocked by a federal court. I didn't catch which one.
He ruled yes. He agreed that one general that said that all of the service should be vaccinated immediately. And he and another female judge ruled yes, which swung it over to, it kind of messed everything up for a minute, where we were actually starting to win against Joe and his mandate. It put a little bit of a wrench in the machinery right now.
Yeah, well, it kicked the can down the road a little bit, but that's it, yeah.
Yeah, it could change. I mean, if you get enough, just remember, 51% is all it takes. 51% of America says shove your mandate where sun don't shine, and that is where it will go. But if we don't stand together, if everybody keeps fighting amongst themselves, I mean, my daughter got COVID. I had to take her to the hospital the other night because she was having complications. Well, they said that, the COVID doesn't seem prevalent, but these complications are created by the COVID. And she says, well, what are the complications? They couldn't tell her. The hospital could not tell her why she was having pain in her chest, because she doesn't have pneumonia and she doesn't have any issues with her heart, but she's having chest pains.
Has she been vaccinated?
Yeah, no. They said, well, I got the vaccine. And she goes, why? It would, if it's not protecting me. And of course, on the slide, the nurses are going to say what they got to say. And the 3 nurses attending to her says, we're not vaccinated either. And I don't blame you. I would not get it, because you could be here just as much right now being vaccinated as if you aren't. They are treating people who are vaccinated now more than the non-vaccinated. That's straight from St. Joe's. More people that had vaccinated.
That's because more people are vaccinated than are unvaccinated. I think we're up to 60% or so, 70%.
Yeah.
So I'm confused by something you said. You said something like, if people don't stand up to these mandates, then they become law. That's not how you create laws.
If the House writes the bill before it changes over to being conservative, and the House puts it together, changing it from mandate to law, that you will have to be vaccinated against this because of the ruling that the Supreme Court put on the mandate, agreeing with the mandate for our military, they can write a bill and make that mandate a law for all U.S. citizens.
Yes, they could, and I suspect that it would be challenged in court and be overturned as unconstitutional.
Yeah, but
It would cause
there's nothing in the Constitution about mandating anything, you know.
with the border. If if they made it a law, then everyone crossing the border would have to be vaccinated. As long as they don't make it a law right now, we can have an influx of trillions of people. I mean, as many people as want to come here can come here without that vaccine.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see what I'm saying? They've got themselves in a catch-22 right now with the mandate.
Oh, they
Mandate,
don't know which way to go with it.
right? They're kind of stuck with it. If they tried to write a bill and make it a law that you must be vaccinated to live in the United States, then everyone crossing the border would have to be vaccinated before they could enter, which would eventually break some of the monies that are allocated right now for their own little pocketbooks, if you would.
Okay, well,
They would
Dale,
have to.
earlier you said that 60% of the population was vaccinated. I heard it was 70%, but that's still 30 to 40% of the population that's not
I
been
don't know
vaccinated. Are all these
because
people not wanting the vaccine, or there's just a short supply? I'm saying that they don't want the vaccine.
Right. Yeah, they don't want the vaccine, and as we've said on the show previously, I'm not anti-vax. I just think that if it's your body, it's your choice. That logic has worked for 40 years in the area of abortion. I think it's just as appropriate. If it's appropriate in that forum, then it's appropriate here. That um, there's nothing uh, constitutional about telling people that they have to take a medical treatment that they may have a physical reason not to have, or a religious exemption, or they just don't want to have it. It's their body. You're not sticking that needle in me. And in the instance of the mandate that was announced on Thursday or Friday, they're allowing an out that everybody in these companies, 100 employees or more, has to be vaccinated or be tested weekly.
It
So
was
it's
tested
it
weekly and something else that they
had to
had
wear
to
a
do.
mask. All
Yeah,
had to
and
wear a
wear the
mask. All
mask. Yeah, that's your punishment.
right,
You have to wear your mask and get weekly tested.
right, exactly. And there's nothing said about who's going to pay for the testing. Testing isn't free. Um, but still, they had to put in that because I think they recognized that if they made it just a mandate, flat out, you have to be vaccinated or get fired, that that would fail in court.
Yeah, well, they did it
Pretty
that way to where the people that are wearing the masks are targeted. Okay, everyone else isn't wearing a mask, and you walk into a big box store and you have a mandatory mask you have to wear because you haven't taken the vaccine. Everyone instantly knows you haven't been vaccinated. And then they give you that side eye that says, look, pariah, that person is breaking the rules.
right. Yeah, and it's increasingly obvious that um, that these mandates are not going to help. They're not going to solve the problem. Creepy Joe with his whispering voice, get the vaccine. That's not help. And it just comes back to your topic. He is a weak and frail figurehead who has lost control of the country, and it's it's a driverless bus at this point. Even though, like I said, he's not really running the presidency. He's not writing those speeches. He's not making these mandates. It's somebody else, and the scary thing is we don't know who that somebody else is. Somebody's running the country. Somebody's pulling his strings, and we don't know who that is.
Yeah, well, that goes back to the point like here in Ohio, the governor of Ohio mandated masks for everyone. Everyone had to wear their masks, and it turned around. He didn't have the authority to do that. So the second wave came around, or it expired. He had like yay much time he could mandate it, and then it expired. So everyone took their masks off because it wasn't mandatory anymore.
Right, and that's just
Yeah, and
naturally
I'm
going to happen.
exaggerating there. I'm not saying everyone. I still see people out there with masks on, but mostly they're white-haired elderly people and, people with pre-existing conditions that are none of my business because, I don't need to know why you're wearing your mask, but if you feel comfortable wearing your mask out in society, then by all means do it.
Right. Solomon, you want to jump in before we close out the show?
I just wanted to say, if you feel the need to wear the mask, then wear it. If you don't feel the need to wear a mask, don't do it. And I feel the same about getting the shot. If you want to do it, sweet. If you don't, whatever.
Yeah, well, that's the reasonable perspective, unlike the present. You have been listening to Reality Remix the podcast. If you like what you're hearing, thank you again for hitting that thumbs up button, as well as for subscribing to the channel.